Hey there, welcome back to the table. All right, so let's keep playing. It's pretty late at night, so I'm gonna have to do a short video, but I think I can at least get one more day in and a couple corrections. I did pin the note on the last video. As it was uploading, I realized when I gain these skills, like the Ledger Domain skill, you don't get any dice. I had originally given myself 2 dice. You don't get any. That is something that you have to spend experience points to get. But I have at least learned the skill, so the skill line is there, but I can't, do anything with it. Also, you may notice if you were really paying attention that I shifted around a few things. So, for example, I put the combat dice up where the health is, and then the new skill where the magic is on some of my characters. And the reason I did that is I'm not going to ever be getting more combat dice, but this I could actually get, a whole bunch of dice because of this skill. So, I want, to make sure that my new skill is where I'm going to grow a lot. And this particular character, being the archer, I don't need magicka at all. And based on a viewer comment, I may not have done a good job explaining, but every skill either uses magicka or stamina. And you can see that here, it shows stamina, right, for these skills. Whereas, if I take this one, you can see it says magicka. So the magicka versus stamina is the determining skill for rolling your dice. And now what does that mean? Well, if I have 4 magicka, then what that means is I'm going to be able to roll up to 4 dice. And I have to be in the, and this is the other part of it, is that there's a stance. So I'm going to take these chips off and just put them over here. This one should go on the summoning, and this one should go on the warden. So here you see the different stances you can be in. This is a magic stance. So I cannot do magic attacks unless I'm in that stance. And how do I know this? See right here, see that little symbol? That's the symbol of the stance I have to be in to be able to use these dice. And so if I want to play, either roll these dice, I gotta be in that stance. Okay? So your skill you take sort of determines what stance to be in. Now there's some skills like speech that we just took. You'll see there's no symbol. And that's because you can be in any stance to roll that particular die. And the restoring light, once again, requires you to be in the magic stance. And then the things like the healer skills, some of these don't necessarily require stance unless it tells you. So, playing along here, let me move the camera a little bit. The Ledger Domain, again, no stance. But if you look at the bow, I have to be in what's called the range stance. So somebody asked if the two-handed skill helps with the bow. And that's what I'm trying to get at here. This is the magic stance, this is the bow stance. The two-handed stance is over here. So you can only either be in a two-handed stance or a bow stance. The two-handed skill does not help you to do a bow attack. It's its own path. And then this is a single sword and shield, and then this is a defensive stance. So when you're looking at your skills, the stance you're in is going to dictate which kind of dice you can roll. And then the type of dice you can roll is determined by either your stamina or your magicka. So I can roll these dice using the magicka skill, but I can only roll these dice using the stamina skill. I know it's crazy, but that's where the complication of this game kicks in. And now, why did I know that about the combat dice that I just pointed out? Well, the combat dice, if you'll notice, there's no stance here, but it shows it here. So this particular die can only be rolled if you're in the sword and shield, the two-handed, or the range. That's it. If you'll notice, the magic one is not listed. So you have to be in one of those 3 stances to be able to roll that die. Now, this is the exact same die. So if you'll notice that the faces of the die are the same. But what it's saying, though, is you can roll this in defensive stance, And if you do, you get this ability that's in the text here instead of that ability. So these are the exact same dice, but depending on the stance you're in, the text changes. And it's simple. These are shields, and then these are attack, right? That's really what the combat dice do. And then you can see that there's only level 1 combat dice. There's no upgrading them to another level. This is it. These are dice that supplement what you're doing. So so in a nutshell, hopefully that helps you with how these different skills interact and why, like if I'm focusing on magicka, I don't care as much about stamina because, most of the time you're going to be using your magic stance and then that's not going to necessarily trigger any of the stamina-based skills. The combat dice are worthless if you're a mage using the magic stance, but you can switch over to a defensive stance and then roll your combat dice and then at least have a few shields. And so the cleric there only has 1 combat die, but our high elf here has 2. And so I could switch to a defensive stance, roll those 2 dice, and use them as shields to prevent me from getting killed. So that's definitely an option. And how many times actions do you get during a turn and all that? We didn't get into all that, but basically you get to do a move, and then you get to either do another move or an engage. And it's an either or. So if you engage, you can't do a second move. And of course, if you do a second move, you can't engage. But once you do an engage action, you then have the option to take fatigue to do another engage action. And so what you could do is you could cast a spell and magic kablam somebody, and then you can do another engage action. And at the beginning of every engage action, you're allowed to switch your stance. And there's your magic ticket, right? So you switch your stance, and then you can, go to a defensive stance and roll some defensive dice, and maybe get some shields up because that the hurt is coming. All right, so I hope that helps, and it's going to make more sense when we get into combat, which I think is coming very soon here. So at the start of every day, there was one other thing I wanted to show you. I got this from Board Game Geek. Somebody made this, and I thought it was pretty helpful. It's a game phase. It's the thing that the rules have, but it's just all over the place. So on the new day phase, we do the overland phase, and there's a start of where some things might trigger. I mean, right now we don't have anything. We can move our party. 3 spaces is the default, but the weather changes that. And then we trigger encounters. And that depends on where we finish our movement. And so that's what we're going to do again. On day 1 last time, we had to stay in town. But now if we do this overland phase and we end up in another town, we're just going to do another town action just like we did before. And then the reward phase is a particular phase that happens after all this is resolved. And so you might have a combat, and so you gain rewards for it and stuff like that. You can always untrain a skill. You can specifically untrain the magicka from your starting attributes, so you can get rid of all the magicka stuff especially if you don't use it. You can gain your advancements, and this is where you can spend your experience points to level up. There is no level in this game. It's just spending experience points, and then you get to improve your skills or your dice or whatever. And then you have an end of day phase, which we didn't talk about much, but this is where we set our difficult level. And so we're playing the normal difficult level, which is called Adept. And basically what that means is we're going to always refresh 1 die from our exhaustion. And we haven't gotten into like exhaustion or anything because that never happened. However, I did also figure out something else. I was concerned that this here is going to be really hard. So it says, after initiating an encounter on an unstable landmark before the day's reward phase, each adventurer draws enemies until they draw a Daedra enemy. If both sides of the enemy chip have Daedra enemies, we choose which one. Then we gain a light fatigue equal to the combat stat and tenacity equal, and then return all enemies to the bag. So this one I think we can do. That's not the one I was actually thinking of. I'm sorry. It's the other one. This one. Where we flip all level 1 bandits to level 5. I thought maybe this was too challenging. And it might be. So Board Game Geek did clarify for me that this is something that we would have to... we would either need to discard it now, or if we ever do go into a combat, I am required to trigger this. So fighting level 5 enemies at the start of the game might be a tall order. And I don't know. I don't know what the right thing to do. I mean, getting the 1 experience point is sort of nice. But let's go. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to march towards this Deadwater village here. And somebody pointed out that this is for combat, for who the first player is. It's not this. I sort of liked my idea better. But fair enough, fair enough. So I'm going to move 1, 2, 3, and this is, I can't remember the word. I always want to call it the chaotic space, but so basically this is a peaceful encounter, and then these are towns or villages. This is a non-peaceful encounter, right? So you're going to draw a red card, and then these are... we got to roll one of this dice to figure out what it is. And no matter what, you always get tenacity at the end of these. And you can see here in this particular rules that I printed, they have like reminders. So each player gets 2 town actions. You gain 2 tenacity at the end of an unstable encounter. That's what it's called. It's an unstable encounter. And anyways, so let's go ahead and do the unstable encounter. And so we roll this die. And we got a town, which is interesting. I was expecting a battle. I really was. Now I am going to get to trigger this. So we'll get this out of the way, which is good, because we're going to gain an experience point from this. But we have to skip our rest step, which might catch up to us. But okay, so the town one is a very interesting animal. So I wasn't expecting that, but it's one side out of all the dice we could have gotten. So I'm going to push this away so I can get out the Gazetteer book. That way this is easier for you guys to see. And what it is it's a traveling caravan. So we can verify this in multiple ways. Well, the other one is I forgot. I need to move us to day 2. So there we go. We're at day 2. We're still at 2 experience points, even though that says 3. Okay, so we got this traveling caravan. I am 90% sure that that's what triggers here. Let me make sure. Yes, it is a traveling caravan. So we're at an unstable encounter, and we happen to find a traveling caravan instead of like a event or whatever. So it says trouble brewing. Set the weather to flooding, which is not good. That means we only get 2 movement points tomorrow. Do not change the weather during today's activate province step, but still resolve the step for any other effects. So sure. And then we get to resolve this. So the number of trainers available is 2. So I'm just going to do that one first. I don't know why I always do that one first, but I do. And so what we got is, this is heavy armor, and this is acrobatics. So they're not horrible skills. And then we get 3 common items. So 1, 2, 3. I'll look at those in a second. And then 2 legendary. And we'll look at those in a second. And then we have a quest board, which has not been very helpful to us. And then we can do, for the town square, we can do a dark pact. So clear your cooldown track, heal to full hit points, and gain 3 tenacity. Then move a random level 10 to 20 and place it in a level 1 to 5 bag. Then you gain a persistent effect. If the 10 to 20 is drawn from the bag, it is treated as level 1 to 5 when subtracting from the EP. And then, of course, it just goes back to normal if you defeat it. We don't need this at the moment because we're full health. I will need it once I initiate this, but we got to do this after because, see, this is these are the battle one. It's this one. After initiating an encounter on an unstable landmark, this is an encounter. It's just a town encounter. Before the day's reward, each adventurer draws enemies until they draw a Phaedra enemy. And then that adventurer chooses which to use. They gain light fatigue equal to the combat stat and tenacity equal to the defense. So now remember, my knight is at full tenacity already. And I actually don't know. I can discard a party's active side quest and then deal 10 damage to an enemy. Like, none of these are helpful at the moment. Yeah, there's none of these that are helpful. If we do complete 2 side quests with your party in a single session, which is what this is all one session, I do get to upgrade my knight to an expert. That's why I want to do both of these quests. Now, everybody's going to get 2 tenacity at the end of this step, but we don't get it now. So it's not like I have it now so I can use it. Like, you could have like a burglar skill or something that uses tenacity, and I can't do that with any of my other characters yet. But starting on day 3, they'll have them. And, at the end of day 2, they get them. So remember, everybody gets 2 actions. And there's not a lot to do. We have the quest board, like I said. We have these 3 items here. And we're probably going to want to just take all the items. And then we have these 2 legendary items. And one other thing to point out is I did catch in the rules, these magic items, when you beat the session, right? Remember, this is session 1, or I call them act 1, right? When you finish the session or the act, all magic cards go away. So these are use it or lose it. Everything else you get to keep, but you do lose these. So I don't know what the logic is behind it, but basically this is Enchanted Adventure. They get +1 magicka for each weapon in their ready slot with the Destruction Staff versus Restoration Staff trait. So this would be helpful for like the Cleric, because he would get +1 magicka because he has Restoration Staff. He has Restoring Light. I don't know if is that the same as Restoration Staff? I think they have an error in their text. I don't think there is a Restoration Staff. It's Restoring Light. Yeah, they screwed up on that one. I mean, it's easy. That's an easy mistake to make, but I think they definitely screwed up on that one. Yeah, I see Destruction Staff, but there is no Restoration Staff. All right, so, okay. Let's keep going. And then the 2 skills aren't horrible. The thing that's horrible about them is I can keep gaining skills, but you got to spend experience points to get dice for them. The heavy armor skill, though, my Nord, who has the sword and shield, I think I do want to get the heavy armor because I think that would be helpful. I'm going to make him into a tank, right? That sounds like a really great idea. And the heavy armor goes all the way up to level 4 on their dice. But here's the question. Where do I put the skill? So if I'm planning out my stuff, this is the sword and shield skill, which I probably want to have as many spaces for. I probably want to put heavy armor on this row, but do I really want to put 3 of these dice on the hit point row? Because it seems like hit points would be very important. And then stamina, if I put 3 dice here on the stamina row, then I'm running the risk that, the more stamina I have, the more dice I can play on a turn. So I don't know if, although if I have one set of dice that are attack, well, here's the thing, I may not need heavy armor. Because these dice act as both, because it's a sword and a shield, they act as both attack and defense. The heavy armor to me would be more necessary if you're doing two-handed. So I don't know, maybe I don't need the heavy armor. And if I did get the heavy armor, I don't know where to put it. Because like, where would the dice go? It's sort of a permanent decision when you decide where to slot it. And that's the part that's challenging about a game that you've never played before. And I don't know, like, is that a skill I really want? And yeah, this is not working out. I'm trying to put this in the slot and it keeps popping back out. But anyways, he has 5. I think the question is going to become, like, I would sort of like to get the skill, largely because I don't think I'm going to be able to figure out 2 of anything else to do here. But just so you understand, that's my situation with him. And I may take the plastic from underneath these player boards off, because maybe it's the plastic that's causing it to pop back out. I don't know. Okay. So this is the heavy armor skill. They're placed in your cooldown track, and they provide defensive bonuses, but they eat up valuable space in the cooldown track. When exhausting heavy armor skill dice outside of your engage actions, you just put it with that side up. So basically, this would show up in your cooldown track, and it's going to give you a persistent defense against attacks. I mean, it's a pretty awesome idea. It's just that, you know, you got this defends against hand-to-hand or adjacent. This defends against range. So you got to choose which one you're going to do, right? And then down here, you got immovable, ironclad, resolve, and constitution dice track each prevent 1 additional damage, right? So while this is in your cooldown, then basically you get to add +1 to everything else. And then there's a 3 and 4. There's a juggernaut. You may gain a light fatigue to gain 2 tenacity. When you change battle form, well, this is in your cooldown track. You may move 1 additional hex for heavy armor in your cooldown track. Or, here's what you can do. You can just get a few dice, put them in your cooldown track, and that's all you do with this skill. Like, we never try to level it up and max it out. We're just going to try to get some of these basic dice so we get some basic armor. That's not a bad idea. I like the idea of getting it. It's just that now where do I put it? Do I put it in my row with the stamina? Like, do I really need, 6 stamina with my character? Do I put it in the row with my hit points? I think that if anything, I probably need hit points more than anything if it's going to be a tanky character. So I'm really... But anyways, I am going to take the heavy armor for that guy. And I'm going to put it with the stamina row. And it might be a mistake. And I'm going to just tell you, I'm going to reserve the right to change my mind later. But technically, from the rule perspective, you're supposed to decide now and forever hold your peace. Now, that acrobatic one is a stamina thing, and it gives you a lot of movement points. And I could take it because it's a nice, movie kind, but I'm not going to, I don't think. I think I'm going to hold off on that one. I just don't think I have a character that would take advantage of it too much. So my knight gets 1 more action. Now, I do have the Breton character that would be able to use this without having to discard the card. However, as much as I want a weapon, see, it says for each combat skill die rolled this engage. The Breton only has 1 combat skill die. However, the Nord has 3. So I'm going to give that same fighter that just took the heavy armor is going to take this weapon, we may never use this. We're just going to use this for the for this. And then the Nord has this ability, in case you forgot. Once per battle, when performing an engage in any of those stances, add 1 enemy combat die to your engage, plus an additional die for every one of these in your inventory. So I want to give him this weapon. And that's a perfect weapon for him. It actually helps him. It's like a great weapon for him to just have, even if he didn't have that ability. So I'm going to give that to him. And now, actually, it's not perfect. This requires the two-handed stance to use. So he can't do this unless he's in two-handed weapon stance. So I take all that back. This is not perfect. However, just having this in his inventory is going to give him that bonus once per combat. And it's perfect for that reason. So yeah, we're still in a quest for a single-handed sword, but that's still a great one to have in his inventory. Okay, the fighter's done. We have 3 characters left, and I have the archer, the summoner, and of course the cleric. So this one, I mean, I could give it to the cleric. I don't want to. I'm going to give this to the summoner. Not because he wants it, but because we're going to be taking everything there is here. And then this one here, it is a item. It's not a particular weapon or anything. So basically this is saying 2 tenacity. You can interrupt. At the start of an enemy's turn, reduce the enemy's range by 1 for the rest of its turn. So you can spend some tenacity to do that. I will also give that to the summoner. So the summoner just took 2 items. And then we have the cleric and the ranger. This one is an interrupt. While taking a Shoptown action, gain an additional item. That's pretty awesome. Perform an additional engage without gaining light fatigue. The engage must be in... Oh, look at that. That's single-handed weapon. So this is actually for the fighter. We already did 2 actions for the fighter. I mean, I could take this and then just give it to him. And I might do that. It's really, this is a trashy item. I don't need it. I mean, I guess arguably I should take this for my fighter. I wanted 4 weapons in his inventory so he can use his ability. But this is nice because you could use it over and over again. You just have to be willing to spend a tenacity. This one I can definitely give to the ranger, so we'll do that. Yeah, I'm running out of stuff here. Honestly, sure, I'll take this and give it to the Nord. I am nowhere close to having 4 weapons in his hand yet. So for now, he might as well use the ability, right? So the ranger has 1 more action left. No, that was both rangers' actions. Or we could have said one of the Briton's actions. The Briton has 2 actions left. And he for sure does not want this. So we're going to discard that. So I guess we're going to draw 2 more quests. We can have up to 4. So here's 1, here's 2. And of course the Nord, because of his knight ability, is going to get tenacity out the roof. But we can't do anything about that. He's already maxed out. I'm going to give 2 tenacity to everybody else before I forget. Remember, they don't get this until the end of the encounter. But I'm just giving it to everybody now. All right, so for the first quest here, we get to choose between these 2. There are a lot of reading here. I'm not a big fan of this. Scamps becomes a companion controlled by the party with a health stat of 3. If it is defeated, it's discarded along with this quest. After gaining the side quest, if an adventurer ever gains an apple with the alcohol trait or a potion, this item is immediately discarded along with the scamps, and you complete this quest. Each adventurer may gain 5 tenacity, or one adventurer may promote their class to master. It is discarded while the scamps is in battle. It becomes an enemy. Once per overland phase, an adventurer with at least 3 trained restoring light or light armor skill may flick the party token to their desired overland hex. They get 1 flick and must move the party to where the token lands. Each adventurer then is either dealt 3 true damage or 3... So basically you get to flick across the map to teleport. If it doesn't land in a valid hex, all party members are defeated. Jesus. During the next town encounter, after having tested the spell at least once, complete the quest and gain 1 experience during the day reward phase. Yeah, I'm going to do the scamp thing. that looks way too complicated and dangerous, and I'm not good at those finger flicking games anyways. So what this says is I got to grab a level 10 scamps as a companion. Now that could be one of these. I don't know which one. So like that is a level 10 General Desolandra. What? Oh, there's 2 sides to everything. It is possible Scamps is an actual enemy I got to grab out of the bag. I wouldn't... Oh. Nope. None of those. I got another stack here. Oh, come on. These white chips are supposed to be the companions. All right. Okay, I found it. It's in the regular monster group. So it's a level 10 scamps with a health stat of 3. And if it's ever defeated, we lose the quest. So we don't necessarily want this guy to die, but he will fight for us until we get this figured out. They want some alcohol. You wonder if this is really a fellow adult at all. There's 3 scamps in a flowy robe, but that would be crazy, right? So it's basically scamps in a rogue. These scamps, they basically look like goblins, and they're basically, you know how you picture they're wearing the long overcoat and one standing on the shoulders of the next, and then one standing on the next one. So there's 3 of them standing on each other's shoulders, pretending to be a human, and apparently they're going to fight with us. So this is either with the ranger or the cleric. I'll give it to the cleric. So the companion ownership is not that important, but I'm still going to give it to the cleric. And yeah, so we got to find food or alcohol. Now, the food has to have the alcohol trait. And we do have food, mind you, but we had it now. Like, you have to find it now that we have them. It says if the adventurer ever gains one. Actually, let me just see, because I do have 2. I have the Bewitched Sugar Skulls, which it has the sweet trait. And then I have the Sweet Roll, which has a pastry trait. So I do not have the alcohol trait, but that's what they're looking for. And if we get it, it's just an easy experience. Oh, we don't get any experience, actually, but we get to... each adventure may gain 5 tenacity, or one adventure may go to master. And all of us need to get to master, so I'm down for that. So with the archer, I got to defeat an enemy 6 or more hexes away. With the warden, I have to defeat a level 10 or 20 enemy or quest unit with the Diving Cliff Racer or the Feral Guardian. And then with the healer, I have to trigger Master Ritualist, the level 4 restoring light skill die from my active slot. That's interesting. So you gotta, if you're gonna be the healer class, you gotta take the light skill, or otherwise you can't even upgrade them. All right, so that's that. I mean, the nice thing is I got somebody to help me. And then this is the last one, the Prodigal Bandit. Next time a Bandit or Marauder token is deployed during battle, place a, this is like a NPC type marker. This is the missing sibling. When an adventurer ends their turn adjacent to the sibling, the party may make a social check, which is party members plus 3. If the adjacent adventurer is the same race as the sibling, reduce the difficulty by 3. If successful, the sibling becomes a companion controlled by the party. If unsuccessful, or if the sibling is ever defeated, they're discarded. While in town, you may return the sibling to their family as a free town action and gain 2 experience points. Okay, so social checks. We took the speech skill to help us with social checks, but I don't have any actual dice to pass the social check. And then I skimmed over this because, I mean, it made sense, but I don't remember it. So give me a second. The index is really good. Not as good as Iridia, but they do a decent job here. And social check is page 42. So you gather and roll dice. Yep, we get that. Adventurers with relevant skill dice, usually speech dice, may choose to gather and roll available dice that would assist them. You spend tenacity. And then resolve the attempt. You compare the party's total die results and spent tenacity to the difficulty value. If the combined total equals or exceeds the social check difficulty, you succeed at the check and gain the described benefit. If the total is less, then you fail. Each adventurer may spend tenacity. So if we want to, we can brute force this by just spending a bunch of tenacity to get this guy to join us. I sort of like that one. The speech dice would have been nice, because so with the speech dice, normally you're swaying them. When multiple dice of the same skill are rolled together, their numbers are combined, increasing the strength. And right here on the back, using speech dice, before adventurers spend any tenacity in their attribute slots, may choose to roll any number of those skill dice, regardless of their stamina. Instead of resolving the effects of the rolled results, the numeric values count towards the social check, reducing the amount of tenacity that needs to be spent. Regardless of success, all dice are exhausted. We have no dice, remember that. But I do like the Prodigal Bandit because it looks simple enough to do. Let's just read the other one real quick. Okay, here's another one. If we're on Circle of Champions, we have to discard this quest and draw a new one. And guess what we are? We're on Circle of Champions. So this quest is no bueno. Now we draw Gold Rush. During your next delve, yeah, we're not doing that one. I'm not even going to be doing a delve anytime soon, at least to my knowledge. So, excuse me, we'll do the Prodigal Bandit. So, you're only allowed to have 4 quests in a party, and we got all 4 now. And, yeah, like I said, the next time a bandit or marauder is deployed, place a token on it. That's the missing sibling. When an adventurer ends their turn adjacent to it, the party may make a social check. The adjacent adventurer is the same race as the sibling, reduce the difficulty. So I'm just going to... Let's see if we can find a bandit or a marauder just to see right here. And this, okay, so it's a marauder that's an Argonian one. So if we had an Argonian in our party, that would reduce it by 3. Here's a Redguard marauder. So there's different kinds. And that's what I was looking for. Here's a Wood Elf one. All right, that makes sense. So we have a chance. There's a Breton one. Yeah, we have a chance that we might actually get a Marauder to be same race as us. And then we can convince them a little cheaper. All right, that brings us to the end. We did all that, and now we're gonna do what's called the refresh step. And I know I haven't explained this yet, but when we do combat and stuff, when you use these dice, they're gonna end up here in what's called the exhausted pool. And so it's first in, first out. It's a queue. They go in from the right and they come out the left. And now when you rest, you can pick any two dice and take them out of the queue and put them, but then everything else shifts down. During battle, you have this cooldown of 2. The left 2 are what becomes available again when you're in battle. So at the end of every turn, or at the beginning of every turn, you get to do your refresh, right? So we have no dice in this yet, which is why at the Adventurer's Rest phase, there's nothing to do. You can spend experience points at the Adventure Rest phase, but we don't have that either. And so what that boils down to, though, is I have this one, the Another Day, Another Daedra, and we're going to do this. So we did the Unstable Landmark, and before the Day's Reward phase, so this means we're going to get to spend the experience point, because the Day's Reward, oh, actually, hold on. We skipped the Day's Adventure Rest step, but it's before the reward. So we'll still be able to do the reward, we just won't be able to do the rest step, okay? So long story short, the rest step, we could take one of those dice and get rid of them. Here, I can't. And we're going to be adding, based on the combat stat, light fatigue equal to the enemy's combat stat. So we could have been able to get rid of one of those light fatigues, but we're going to probably have to start the next battle with a bunch of light fatigue in our exhaustion pool. Okay, so we got to get a 10 to 20 enemy bag and draw. So let's do that. So here's our 10 to 20 bag. We're going to draw, and I'm going to start with the priest. So I'm going to shuffle, and let's grab this one here. And what am I looking for? I'm looking for a Daedra, which I actually don't know where the symbol would be. Is it that symbol? Like that's an undead? I think that might be the case. I don't think it is. Or maybe it's just humanoid because it's a skull. So there's another humanoid. And another one. And another one. There we go. Phaedra. Right there. So it's the Banekin or the Storm Atronak. I could use either side. And it's the combat skill. So I would gain that many light fatigue. I'm assuming the combat skill is this, the 3. Or the 4. And of course I'm going to choose the 3. And so what I do is I grab 3 of these gray cubes, and we give them 3 of those. And then what it's saying is at the end, after each adventurer has done this, complete the quest and gain 1 experience point. And so that means the experience point is going to move up to 1, and I can spend that during the reward phase, which is next, because this is right before the reward phase. But what I can't do is I just can't rest, which means that I won't be able to remove one of these dice at the end of the day. All right, so then I go to the next character, which I'm assuming these all go back in. And then we draw again. So here's the first one. And now I'm a little more confident. Oh, there's a Daedra. And that one has 4. And I didn't specify, but I'm just coming... Anytime I'm doing turn order, that's the top, and then we're just going down. So that means Our high elf here gets 4. So we do that and then gains an experience point. So the next one would be the archer. And the archer. Oh, there's a leech. Oh, look at that. The archer got lucky. That one only has 2. All right, so 2 goes on and 1 experience for him. We're not getting a lot of experience points at the moment, but I guess we are getting items. And then last but not least, our Nord. Here's the first one. That's a harpy and a giant bat. Now that symbol, by the way, is a beast. It looks like a little Pac-Man or a crab claw. I think it's meant to be a crab claw. Goblin shaman, goblin butcher, dark elf, red guard, Nord pyro, orc wizard, Khajiit, ogre, titan. All right, so that titan has 4 combat strength. So bad news for our fighter, but it is what it is. And what this means is when they start the combat, they got to get rid of these dice before they can move on and do or get their other dice refreshed. So these 4 dice are clogging up the queue. And if my Breton here, attacks somebody and uses up 4 dice or whatever he does, it's going to take multiple turns to get those dice back. So that's the drawback. But for the 1 experience, there's really no good time to do this, and now's the time because we have completely emptied out queues. So this quest is accomplished and done. So we got 1 out of the 2 that we need to upgrade our knight to a master. All right, so that brings us to the end of the day. I'm checking my time. I don't know if I have enough time to do another day, but I want to. So maybe we can at least start it and then make some decisions from there. All right, so Deadwater Village is here. It is flooded. And if I were to get up the Gazetteer and look at the front page here, flooding means the overland movement is 2, and when gaining fatigue to continue movement, we have to over fatigue, which we don't want to do. So we're on this because we went 1, 2, 3. So we can go 1, 2 on day 3. Oh, and then one other thing. Our experience went from 2 to 3, like that. We're on day 3 and we have 3 experience. And I forgot, we get to spend our experience points. Why would I not want to do that? So I'm going to just show you this particular character. This is the High Elf player board. And a couple of things. First of all, this requires 3 experience points to move up if I want to be able to, remove 3 dice instead of 2. Okay, so that's 3 experience points. Don't have that. Here, the white number is for when I'm going this way. So if I want to add another health to this character, it's only going to cost me 1 experience, and then I get to add a health chip. And they look like this. So they're only 1 health at a time. So this is 4 health, right, to start, but then you're adding 1 health at a time as you go. If I want to add another combat die, which I don't think I can, but it's a bad example. But if I'm going this way, it would have cost me 2 experience points to add something here. It's the black numbers for going this way. So if I want to add another stamina, That's going to cost me 2 experience. Another Magicka is going to cost me 3 experience to add that here. And then this skill here is going to cost me 2. So I'm looking at my situation, and the only thing I can do is add a health, which, adding a health is not the end of the world. But I think I want to save the experience point and use it for something else. I don't need stamina so much, but I would like to maybe get more of these dice, right? Get another level 2 of that dice, but I need 2 experience points for it. And yeah, so this one isn't even going to do anything. So then if I look at the situation for, this is the cleric, right? The Breton, I have 1 experience point. So same deal, I can add a health. But see, I have this speech skill and I want to add a speech die. So I'm going to do exactly that. And I actually saved the dice because remember I got them out thinking that we got them right away. So I'm going to add 1 speech and that's going to spend the experience point. It's not super powerful, but it does mean that I could influence somebody to join our side at level 1. Because all I got are 1s here. So I'm just going to be rolling 1s. But I could theoretically, that's going to add to my speech numbers. And in fact, maybe I want to choose a different die. Let me think about this. So here, this is the one that taunts them or gets them, like it's a charm, basically. So you can see I have 1s and then a 4 and a 5. Here I have 1s and several 2s. So this is clearly better than this if I'm going to use it for a speech roll. And then down here, it's all 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. So if anything, this is the best one for a speech roll. Because even my worst roll is going to be a 2, and here it's a 1. So, but what does this do? This combine the values of all authority dice. Any single adventure may gain tenacity. See, I don't want that. I want to be able to hurt an enemy. So I am going to stick with this one. I think this between these 2, this one has the chance to be superior for a dice for a speech roll. So we'll get one of those, which is what I got. And that spent his 1 experience. So then we have the Khajiit, which is the archer. And I did take the ledger domain. And so I might have to do the same thing because, look again, this is 3 experience. This is 2. And, I could add a health. And so I'm going to spend the 1 experience point, and we're going to add the ledger domain die to that. And then we come down here. Same deal. I can add a heavy armor die. There's not much else I can do. So I'm going to look into adding a heavy armor die. And which one are we going to add? That's right. We have to choose against range attacks or adjacent hand-to-hand. I don't know which one's better. I think at some point I want both. So which one do I take first? I'm going to take the range one first. Well, I am going to get hand-to-hand. I'm going to take the hand-to-hand one first. And so this looks like it's a reddish color die. So let's see if we can find it. I think it's one of these guys. Yeah, so it's going to be red like this. And then, so this has 2, 4, and 3. So, oh, here we go. Here's the level 1. And then this is the ranged defense one. So we're going to grab one of these. And then we put that there. So now he can use that. He has to be in defensive stance to use it. But once he does, it goes into here, and it just persistently gives him bonuses as long as it's in the queue. So, okay. So we did that. Now we, like I said, we're on day 3. And according to the rule book, we need to get to here by day 4. And we're on track. But we moved 2 spaces from here, and the only space that's interesting is the special encounter. So we're going to go and do that. and we drew a conflict. So we get this guy out, and it's the highwayman, and there's some flavor text here. You spot a caravan of traveling merchants. You've heard a band of thieves posing as legitimate businessmen have been operating in the area. You think you just found them. There's a chance to liberate some ill-gotten goods or whatever. So your choices are to sneak away or to seize the caravan. And the thing is that we have to choose this because of the encounter. If this was a normal encounter where you landed like here, we could have made the choice. But because it's the, I keep calling it the chaos one, but you know what I'm talking about. You have to choose the red. There is no choice. And the thing that stinks is I think this is experience points. So I would have gained an experience down here. Add 1 experience to the encounter rewards. Gain either 3 or 6 light fatigue. If all adventurers choose 6 fatigue, add 1 to the rewards. So then they would get 2. Here, it's a 0. And then after each time a cache is unlocked, you may discard the item to instead set aside the cache chip. If successful, the encounter reward is 1 experience for each set aside cache. So that's what we want. We don't want the white items as much as we would like the experience points. And so this is an actual battle that we're going to have to do. So let's try to set this up. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this tonight, but we're going to try. So the map I'm just pushing out of the way. And the first thing you got to do is you got to grab this big encounter, right? And if you're looking at this, it's the big encounter, and then there's like this little, they call that an entrance tile. So I'm going to push this a little out of the way so it gives us more room. And then I have room over here for the other tile. And then I got to put the camera down so I can grab the rest of these. Now, these are special tiles, and I'm just going to set them off to the side. And then you have little tiles that look like this, which again, there's actual dungeons and delves. Those are 2 different things, dungeon and delve. And the dungeon and delve, these actually become like exploration tiles that you can draw. And then we have these here, which one of these, this one, is the entrance tile. And the rest of them are not. Okay. So it's either going to be a page in the Gazetteer or on these cards, it's going to tell you how to set it up. So this one here, we set up like this. This is considered what they call a clash. And so actually I got it wrong already. It's the other way around. It's like this. Okay, so we're going to start on these squares. Any of these squares is where we start. That's the entrance tile. And then what it's saying is here, here, and here, we're going to have items. And so the purple is a legendary item. This is a regular item. So it's basically just 3 regular items. And there's nothing secret about these chips. They're one side or the other. That's all they are. So we do that, right? And then what it's saying is we're going to calculate how many baddies are going to join. And the first one's going to be here on the 1. The second one's going to spawn on the 2, and then so forth. And there's 8 total spots. It's not saying that we're going to fill all 8, because once we calculate the baddie points, if we hit our point limit, then we stop. But it is saying, though, that there's room for 8 monsters here. And then if there's 3 or more players, it's telling us to remove one. So I'm going to remove the one in the back. And that makes me sad, because that means we're only going to get 2 experience points for this now instead of 3, but that's fine. 2 experience points is pretty good. Okay, so what is the baddie points? Well, that's where this thing comes in. Here you can see we have 3 experience points we've earned so far. And the day doesn't matter, but this does. The 3 experience points times 4 players is 12. So we're supposed to draw 12 baddie points worth of stuff. And the way it works is you draw from the 10 and 20 bag first. It's like Roman numerals. You start with the biggest number first and you go to the smallest. So we're going to draw a 10, which is this guy. And that's the Argonian Stalker. So he'll have 6 health. And he goes, according to this chart, he goes right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the Stalker goes there. And we're going to have to study him a little bit to figure out what his behavior is going to be. But that's the first guy. That's the level 10, right? And then we got to get 2 more points worth of stuff. So this is where we draw from the level 1 bag. And we're going to draw 2 more points. So here's the first one. And then here is the second one. Now, normally, this would be a level 1 Breton Bandit. But because we have this quest that needs us to, after enemies are deployed, flip all level 1 bandit enemies to their 5 Marauder side. And we need to have 5 of these killed. So this level 1 is switching to a level 5. Yeah, this might be a tough battle. I may regret this. All right, so that becomes a guy with 6 hit points. And he goes in the number 2 spot, which is 1, 2 from here. Like that. Then we got this one, which would have been a spider, or no, a mud crab, which is upgraded to a spider. And the number 3 spot is here. And there she be. So those are the 3 enemies we're going to end up fighting. Okay, so how do you read this thing? Okay, first things first, we talked about this. This is just for setup, that this is on the Black March. It's the Argonian Stalker, so you know the race of it in case you have a quest or something that needs that. Here it's a level 10 creature. We've already determined that that's humanoid. That's how many health points it has, which is 6. I need to look up the purple number. It has 1 shield, meaning that when you do a damage to it, it will block 1 of it. So if you do 3 damage to him, he'll lose 2 hit points. He has 1 defense. This is combat, and that's how many combat dice he rolls when he attacks you. So the purple number, I need to look that up. They all have 2 movement points, so I don't think it's movement points. Or maybe I'm wrong. And of course, I got to figure out where to find this guy. Here we go. Battle, enemies, 54. So the purple number is range. So the 1 just means he's a hand-to-hand guy. So he's got to be next to you. So that purple number is range. And like I said, they all move 2 spaces. And then he has 2 keywords, daze and rally. And those don't mean anything to me, but what you got to do is you got to look at this sheet here. And you can see there's a daze, which says after this unit's engage, apply a daze status die to this unit's target. So he's going to daze whoever he attacks. And then what was the other one? Rally. Rally. After this unit is defeated, if it is not the last enemy in play, deploy an enemy of the next lowest level to the hex where this unit was defeated. Then return this unit to the empty bag, which would be a level 5. So I basically got to make him the last guy we defeat. He's a jerk. Don't like him. All right. So that's him. Then we got the Breton Marauder here. Again, range 1. Oh, one more thing we forgot to talk about. This says he'll attack an infinite number of people. And the down arrow means he's going to go after whoever has the lowest health first. Pretty sure on that one. Let me make sure I remembered the down arrow properly. Yeah, the weakest, lowest health. This one And just so you understand, he attacks everybody next to him. But if he has to move 2 spaces to attack one person to the left or one person to the right, he's going to choose the one with the lowest health points. That's what that means. So this one, 6, range 1, 2, 1 again. And this one says he's going to attack 2 people, lowest health. Right? And he has dodge and steal. So dodge, when this unit is engaged by an opposing unit, prevent damage dealt to this unit equal to the number of rolled skill dice that do not do damage. So if you have a die that you roll and it misses, that basically blocks a hit. And then steal, when this unit determines a target, roll 1d6. If the result is greater than or equal to the target's current hit points, that target discards a non-food item from the ready slot. And discard sucks because I don't think you get that back. That's a great FAQ. Do I get that back after I kill him? I mean, he stole it. It's not like it disappeared into a portal to another dimension. That might be, I might actually do get it back. All right, so Spider, again, that's a beast. Range is 2. 2 attack dice, but no defense. Native and Stalwart. Pretty sure Stalwart from the Too Many Bones days is he only takes 1 damage at a time. We're going to find out. This unit cannot lose more than 1 hit point in a single turn. Now, a single turn is player turn, so I can do 1 damage to him with 1 player, and then another player can do him 1 damage, etc. But that's the thing to understand. It's not a round, it's a turn. That's Stalwart. And then Native is... This unit has the skill specific to the current province. So what that means is we've got to look at our Gazetteer book to figure out what Native is. And give me a second. It should be on the first page. Stormseer. When this unit determines a target, its target must exhaust a number of dice from its active slots as determined by the current weather. So with it being flooding right now, that would be 3 dice. Active slots are these spots up here. So if I have defense die, they're going to make you discard those dice. These guys aren't easy, not even in the slightest. And, but we wanted a combat, right? So now we got one. So here we go. We got our priest who can't do any damage at all to anybody. So I'm putting him in the back. He's got this dude to help him. We don't want him to die, though. He only has 3 health. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put him next to him in the back. We have our high elf, which I'm also going to put in the back. And we have our archer, which I'm going to put in the front. And then we have our Nord, which I'm also going to put in the front. Now, the archer does have the ability to pick a lock for free at one of those caches and then move 4 spaces after doing so. So how does this work? Well, we have, I was just trying to say, oh, here it is. Your combat card. So our combat card shows that we start a turn, we recover. Then we do actions in any order. Move, engage, class abilities. You can do 1 per ability. And those are the things you spend the tenacity for, right? Your class stuff. And then in a delve only, you can explore the next tile. There's nothing to explore here. We got the whole map explored. So that's not an option. And then, like I told you, if you want to do another engage, you can, but you have to take a light of fatigue to do that. And then when you do an engage, you're gaining a light fatigue if it's not the first one. And remember, you could do a second move, but then you can't engage. So there's that option as well. You choose a battle form. You always get to do that at the beginning of an engage. Declare your target, gather and roll your dice, resolve the roll, and then, determine whatever, blah, 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 and then they could possibly react if they have reaction. And then these are the battle forms that you're going to do. And the magic is adjacent or non-adjacent. Target must be in sight and up to as many hexes away as your magicka stat. So if your magicka stat is 4, you can hit something 4 spaces away. For the ranged here, the target must be in sight and as many hexes away as your stamina stat. And then for the heavy and light, you have to be adjacent. And then, of course, defensive range really doesn't matter. All right, so that's what that's trying to help us with. And whoever we pick to go first, you then have to go in turn order. So this isn't like I get to go in any order I want. So if I choose, to have the archer go first, for example, then that means that, I have to then do the cleric next. And then after that, the high elf. And then after that, the Nord for the final. Because that's just the turn order we have set up on our table. Well, actually, no, I apologize. If I do the archer first, it's the Nord next, then the cleric, and then the high elf last. And that might actually work out fine. If you have companions, they do not go until all 4 of your player characters are finished. And there's some keywords. The word adventurers is referring to the player characters. I think it's party members or party or whatever. There's a different word that would encompass the companions or the adventures. So there's different keywords to look for. Again, a reminder, the companions do not go until all of the characters have gone. All the adventurers. Okay? So now, with the archer, let's see. Man, it's late at night. I really want to play this. I'm enjoying this so far. How bad do I want to be miserable tomorrow at work? So let's keep going. The archer here, I want to use this ability. Once per battle, I may automatically succeed a lockpick check and then move up to 5 hexes after that. And then, of course, I got to get to the middle of the board to do that. The move action, remember, you get to do... so we get to do a recovery, and then we get to do any of these actions in any order. So let's start with the recovery. Let's show that. Recovery is, hey, my cooldown is 2. I get to remove 2 dice. So boom, these light fatigue dice are gone. The archer is not affected by that quest at all. The dice are completely gone. And the archer has 4 stamina, which means the archer can move 4 spaces. And that also means the archer can use 4 dice with its stamina-based dice attacks. And so just trying to make sure you understand, I think in Too Many Bones that if you moved, that reduced the amount of spaces you could shoot. Like your range was a combination of movement plus, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong. This game's not like that. You can move 4 spaces and you can also shoot 4 spaces away. Like there's no, either or. Well, actually, I might be wrong. Let me look this up. Okay, so from everything I was able to verify, I explained it correctly. The move and the range are both 4. Doesn't matter how many spaces you move, it does not reduce the range. So technically, this character has a range of 8, right? Because if I can move 4 spaces and have a range of 4, I can hit something 8 spaces away. Now, I do want to do these, but I don't necessarily need to be in a rush, because we got all these creatures and they're looking very deadly. So I think I want to get this guy who can steal, because that's annoying. And if I go 1, so if he's here, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I can move to this location and shoot 1, 2. Actually, I can go here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know why I did that wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's right. I can be 1 more space away. So 5. So if I'm standing here, I can shoot 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away. So I only need to move 2 spaces to be able to pull that off. And I think that's what I want to do. I'm more than 2 spaces. Well, this guy can move 2 spaces and engage me. So I'm at a little bit of risk. But I I still think this is the right call. And I don't want to get any closer to these two. So I'm going to stay 4 spaces away, and I'm going to shoot that Marauder. Now remember, I have 2 Tenacity. And I also have to make sure the Prodigal Bandit. The next time a Bandit or Marauder enemy is deployed during the battle, they're asking us to place one of these tokens on the Marauder. That's that guy. Oh, this changes things. Hold on. It's a Breton Marauder. So we have to go up and do a social check. And if we pass, he becomes a companion controlled by us. Oh, Nelly, that changes things. So I don't want to attack him. I actually want to move up 1 and do 1, 2, 3, 4 and attack the spider. This guy we have to kill last. So, but yes, I do want to take down the spider if I can. And so, next thing I want to look at is I have 2 Tenacity. And here I have to defeat an enemy that's 6 or more hexes away. So first one is an interrupt. When selecting a target, increase your range by 1. So to be able to hit him 6 spaces away, I need another stamina. I have to have at least 5 stamina. This one I can heal for hit points. I don't have 3 or 5. You can see both of these cost 3. Roll 2 enemy combat dice against an enemy. Interrupt. When a non-quest enemy is deployed, remove it and deploy a random enemy of the same level. Heal for 3. And then the venom arrows, right? So I can't do any... You know what's missing? There needs to be a character that can lay traps. I'm just now realizing that. That's what I miss about... It was Gilly, I think, in the... But anyways, these are off limits because I only have 2 Tenacity. So I can do this one or this one. This one doesn't do me any good. I don't mind moving in as close as I did. I would only use this actually to help me do this, but I don't have enough stamina to be able to add 1 and then get to 6. At the start of your turn, if you're in a range combat stance, deal 2 damage to a targetable enemy. That's at the start of your turn. So this is a skill that you always have. So here, there was 1 enemy targetable. It was this one. So I'm going to do 2 damage to that enemy. Now, it does have 1 shield, so I'm going to only do 1 actual damage to it. So basically, that was pretty nice. So that was a free thing at the start of my turn just for being an archer. So now I'm going to move here, and I'm going to shoot 1, 2, 3, 4 at the spider. I'm not going to use any of my Tenacity because there's nothing to do. And I have 4 stamina. And let me show you my situation. I have 4 stamina. I can use combat dice with my bow. So I can do 1, 2, 3, 4. I can shoot everything all at once. And that's what I'm going to do. And just a reminder, like, how do I know I can do that? Well, the combat says I can use this die in range mode. And it's going to be this die where if I roll it, whatever I roll is going to be damage, X damage to the target. Okay? So that's the combat part. The bow part is you have to be in bow form. And I'm going to roll 2 snipe dice. The snipe dice is deal X damage to your target. Ignore 1 defense on your target for this engage. So the spider has 0 defense. So this is just going to be pure damage against the spider. And if I roll one of these, I gain a Tenacity, but I don't actually do any damage. And you saw that for the snipe die, that's 1 out of 6 sides. And then for the combat die, that's also 1 out of 6. So I get 4 dice. I'm going to roll them. And here we go. So this is 1 hit. This is 1 hit for 2. That's 1 hit for 3. That's 1 hit for 4. And this guy has 5 health. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It was not enough to kill him. That's unfortunate. I was really hoping to get a 2 in there. But yes. So 4 damage though. And I'm very happy with that. And then I get to choose the order I put them back. So I'm going to put the 2 arrow dice first, and then the combat dice next. Because remember, with his cooldown of 2, he's going to get these 2 back at the beginning of the next round. Okay? All right, so that's how you do a turn. Pretty simple. Now, I could engage again. I have to take a light fatigue to do that. But here's my problem. I have no dice. There's nothing I can do to attack. So engaging again, you may think, well, you just do that forever until the enemy's dead. Well, I have nothing left to do. I have to get my dice back before I can do anything more. And that's the reason why the cooldown stat is important. And you may want to level up your cooldown stat, right? Because then you're getting your dice back quicker. So in the case of the archer here, I'm done. Now, it's not I go, you go. I get to go with all my characters first. And then and only then do they get to go. So that's the interesting part about this. So we go to the next one here, which is the Nord. I'm just looking at my items that the archer had to make sure there was no opportunity to do an extra damage somehow. Or if my tenacity could have helped me do an extra damage. There's nothing in here that tells me I could have done that. So I'm still happy with that. That was a good attack. So the Nord has 3 combat dice, 2 sword and shield dice, 2 stamina. Okay, so a lot slower character than the other one. And with the 2 stamina, he can move 1, 2 like that. And that's exactly what I want to do. And the only person he can really attack is this one. And I'm going to do it because I don't think I'm going to do 6 hit points worth of damage. And so, I forgot to mention, his cooldown is 2, so only 2 of the 4 dice come off. Then we put those away. And then, his stamina is 2, so he can only roll 2 dice. So I can roll combat dice, or remember, I can always switch to defensive stance, and the combat dice would help me there. Now, this guy is going to apply what's called a daze effect on you. And I could have sworn I had that written down somewhere, like what daze does. It's in the rule book, buried on a page that I don't remember. Oh, that's where the game sort of falls apart. Like these guys, like they do such a great job writing all this stuff up, and then they bury these things that really should be on a card or somewhere where you can like see all the effects and, oh, you know what? I know. It is on a card. If they're watching this video right now, they're like, you, right here. Daze. The unit cannot roll dice on the same turn as it moves. And it cannot move on the same turn it rolls. At the end of the turn, remove. So that's not too bad, because once the Nord is next to somebody, he doesn't need to move. So I'm okay with him getting dazed. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll these 2 dice as part of my engage, and we're going to attack that guy. And additional to the daze, he has rally. So if I kill him and he's not the last one on the map, then he's going to basically go down a level. So a level 5 is going to spawn. So we don't want to kill him, but I do want to start damaging him. So let's do that. And so here you can see I gain 1 tenacity. And then this one, because it's a sword and a shield, I'm going to do 1 damage to him, but then it also counts as a defense for me. And my tenacity is at full level, so I forgot. We should probably look at this. After you defeat an enemy, discard one of the party's active side quests and deal 10 damage. I don't want to do that. That's powerful, but I don't want to do it. Any unit's turn, choose an enemy in play. For the rest of the turn, each engaged targeting does 1 additional damage. So I could have spent 2 tenacity to choose that enemy and say, oh, you know what? I could have done this for the archer and say the archer is going to do 1 additional damage. I will do that. So I should have done this before the archer started its turn. It's totally allowed. It's just because there's so many characters, I totally forgot this was even a skill. This guy has 5 tenacity, so we got to spend some. So I'm going to drop them down to 3. And then what that means, it's a small little retcon. It just means the spider's dead. And you're supposed to keep this as your dead pool. I don't know exactly why. Because I don't think I get experience points for that. It's just what's on the card that's your experience points. But anyways, yeah, it doesn't do anything special, but I mean, you definitely don't want to put it back in the bag because there could be things that make you need to draw from the bag, like, for example, that rally skill. So you don't want to do that, and I guess maybe that's why we create it. And yeah, it's funny, my camera is in a zoom mode where you're seeing my tripod, which hopefully that's not too annoying. And okay, yeah, so the Nord was able to come up. We did some damage. 1 damage, in fact. But we had some things we needed to check. The first thing I was going to do is look at I can remove a status die. Don't need to do that. If there's only 1 enemy within 3 X's of you, deal 3 damage to that enemy. I'm going to do that one as well. And you can do each of these once per combat round. So and then after the party gains a side quest, so I've been doing this like mad. But I'm going to do this. I'm going to spend 1 tenacity. There's only 1 enemy within 3 hexes of me and deal 3 damage to that enemy. So I'm going to spend 1. I'm down to 2 now. And it has a shield of 1, so we're only doing 2. Now this other one case, I only do 1 damage, but he has a shield of 1, so I do no damage to him. So that's part of the reason why I was eager to use that skill. And then lastly, we want to pull up his one-hand and shield skill. So what this is saying is, so the A is, it's an active dice, which is those 4 spots on the top. When you place this die in the active slot, deal X damage to your target. When you're dealt damage by an enemy, you may exhaust this die to prevent X damage. So it doesn't show up down here. What it's going to do, well, this one is, because I rolled this is a tenacity. So basically it's a miss. This goes up here like this, and it's going to count as a shield. Now, I could always voluntarily take it out of there and move it down to here. But this will give us a tenacity, so I'm going up to 3 now. And I know this keeps popping out. So I'm up to 3 tenacity, because that gave me 1. At the start of the next turn, I'm only going to be removing these 2 dice. I'm not going to get the brown dice back. So having that as a defensive die is totally okay right now. Like, I could theoretically say, hey, I want to move this down here and not have it be a defensive die, because then next turn I would get them back. But I got these 3 combat dice back, which I can use to attack as well. So I'm not going to do that yet. And I could also have rolled, I can gain another one of these to go into defensive mode, and then I can roll any number of these combat dice for extra defense, or roll this, which once it gets down here, it'll persistently give me a defense value. And that's not a horrible idea. What I should have done is, instead of charging into battle, on turn 1, I get the defense dice down in my queue, and then spend the rest of my turns charging into battle. I didn't do that in this case, so I think I'm going to be okay. I only have 4 health, so I do need to be a little careful. This guy is going to get to roll 2 dice against me, and he could easily blow past my 1 armor. So maybe I'm making a mistake. Should I gain a light fatigue die? You know what? I will. We're going to then do another engage action. So I have to gain a light fatigue. It goes there like that. And you know what I could have done? I could have done this in the other order. But if I would have done this in the other order, then that means this die would be over here. So I'm actually going to leave it the way it is. And then we're going to roll a defense die. I could roll all these combat dice too, but I only want to roll this one. And here it is a defense of 2. So he's going to give me 2 defense for as long as he's in this queue and I don't take him out. Now, eventually I'm going to have to, because he's going to shift down and I'm eventually going to have to take him out. But this is like a slow burn, which is good. And so I'm going to get 2 defense for as long as this is here. So I'm going to take it. And I just had to take an extra light fatigue, which is fine because that actually went in front of my shield die, which is going to let me defend for a little bit longer. Okay, so it's a bit of a trade-off, but I think this is going to work. I think this is pretty cool. These chip theory guys, they are mad scientists with their game, that's for sure. A little bit of a rules lawyer with some of these skills, but they definitely come up with some neat stuff. Okay, next is the Breton. And now I'm realizing I need to get this guy over to him so we can do our speech check and get him to join us. Now, the Breton only has a stamina of 2, and that's the problem. He's only going to move 2 spaces. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a move. So I'm going to move 1, 2, and then again 1, 2 more, like so. And I probably will get attacked by him because he's going to move in towards me, but I'm okay with that. I have a ton of armor. I can heal myself. I actually have no attack ability, so why not, right? So there's that. And then understanding that this guy attacks infinite, I have my companion here who could go up and attack him, but I'm probably going to have the companion wait. And I'm in total control of my companions. It's not like a mindless zombie. Like, he's not going to just charge in unless I want him to. And the reason I say that is because I don't want this companion to die. He does look pretty powerful. He is a level 10 guy. So he has 3 combat dice, 2 shields, see all that? And he can probably absorb some hits. He only has 3 health instead of the 7. But I just don't want to kill this guy unless I have to. And then this guy gets to attack everybody. Well, actually, to be honest, he's just going to go here and attack both of us if I don't. So I get, okay, well, this doesn't happen until after I'm done with my turn. So the Breton is already done. I have nothing else to do. I do have 2 tenacity. So you could argue, okay, for 2 tenacity, I can interrupt. After healing an adventure, I can deal targetable damage equal to hit points healed. So this is one way I can do damage right now without any dice that actually does damage. Spend any amount of additional tenacity or remove 1 over fatigue where we don't have any. Discard an item and then heal party member for 3. I don't want to do that either. So we're good to go there. Last but not least is the High Elf. So the High Elf has some things going on here. The first one, Cyrabane's Boon. Once per battle during your turn, place any adventure in an occupied hex and heal them for 3. So basically, an adventure can go back to the beginning and heal for 3. If a beast companion is defeated, heal yourself for 3. So for 1 tenacity, I can deploy the companion unit Diving Cliff Racer. It's a companion controlled by you. It's removed at the end of the battle. And this is a once per battle thing. I can heal a party member for 2. If it's a beast, I can exceed that. It's health stat. The Living Vines, after companion takes damage, if it's not defeated, it heals for 1. I'd have to spend 3, though. Well, it's enduring. So what this means is if I have 3 or more tenacity and I never go below 3, this is an automatic ability that the beast would have. Companion may immediately move up to 2 hexes engage. If it's a beast, it may move up to 2 additional hexes, increase its combat stat by 2 for this engage. And then the Feral Guardian is you're spending 5 to deploy one of those. And the chip is an either or. So the Feral Guardian is a 5 health bear with 3 combat dice, no armor, and it's got Maim and Rush, which are 2 skills that I did not bother to look up. Rush is If this unit cannot target an opposing unit after its movement, it moves a second time instead, which is just 2 more movement. Then feral. Where are you? That's not a skill. I'm sorry. Maim is what I'm trying to find. After this unit's engage, apply a maim status die to the target. And maim is when this unit rolls combat skill dice, the total damage rolled is reduced by half, then rounded down. Wow, maim is pretty powerful. But the one that we're going to be able to do now is we can summon this dude. He only has 3 health. He's a diving cliff racer. He's going to target 1 unit. Combat strength of 2. He does dodge and rush. The dodge one we talked about already. Prevent damage dealt to this unit equal to the number of rolled skill dice that do not deal damage. So yeah, I'm going to spend 1 tenacity to summon this guy. So that's 3. And I believe I can move first before I do this. So I'm down to 1 tenacity. I'm going to go ahead. I only have 2 stamina for movement. So if I move to like here, then I can summon the cliff racer. There. And then what's crazy is for Daedric summoning, I can't summon anything yet, but I can do a Daedric Curse, deal X true damage to an adjacent enemy, or deal 1 true damage to an adjacent enemy. Then any single adventurer may trigger one of their class abilities that cost 2 tenacity or less for free. And it's any adventurer. It doesn't matter what the range is. So that's pretty cool. Now, she has to be next to her person, and true damage ignores armor. So for now, I'm actually feeling pretty comfortable because we need to talk to this guy. We need to open both of these. And we already got this guy down to 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and move 1, 2 like this. And that's our situation at the end of our turn. I can also activate this, and I'm assuming I can move through my own people. I actually didn't even check. 1 second. Yeah, I can't move. These are all blocking him. So if I summoned him here, I can then do like a 1-2 move like that. The problem is this guy is going to go after the weakest. But see, this is 3 hit points. That's also 3 hit points. This one here is going to go after the weakest. So then this is going to get attacked by him. It saves the Breton, I guess. I just don't know if that's what I want to do. I mean, this guy has 0 defense. So he's pretty squishy. But he can take 1 for the team because if he dies, it's no big deal. I can just summon him again next combat. And he disappears after this combat anyways. He is a once per combat summon. Yeah, I'll leave him where he is. Okay, so now it's their turn. And the order that they go is, I believe they go from highest to lowest. And I'm realizing I don't remember, but this is where the too many bones stuff starts to creep into your head and confuse you. So the different types of battles, this is considered a clash. Let's see. Highest to lowest level, yep. And quest units are treated as having the highest level of all, if there's a quest unit on the board. Okay, so that means this dude here is going to go first. He's a level 10. And he's adjacent, and he's going to roll 2 combat dice. Those same 2 dice are going to be used to attack both people. Because he attacks infinite, so he's like doing like a whirlwind attack or whatever. Combat dice for them are simple. They use these black dice. There's a blank side where the tenacity would be, because they don't gain tenacity. So it's going to roll 2, and that's it. We just see what happens. And so this is 1 damage, and then this is 2 damage. So this is 3 total damage being done. So I'm glad I did what I did, because I'm going to show you here. That blocks 2 damage, and that's persistent for as long as it's in the queue. And this blocks the 3rd damage, and now it's exhausted, so it goes into the queue. So it did its job. Now this one, not as lucky. He blocks 2 of the damage, but the 3rd one gets through. And that's it for this guy. Now it does have the maim in the native, so that means it gets the sear ability, which I can't remember what sear does again. Something about the flooding causes something. When this determines a target, exhausts a number of dice from its active slots. Okay, fair enough. So that doesn't do anything. So he's done. That was pretty simple. Now we go to this guy, the Marauder here, and he's going to do the dodge steal thing. Well, he's going to try to do the steal. He moves 2 spaces, and he's going to target 2 people, preferably the lowest health. So he has 2 to choose from because he can move here, but he's going to go here instead and target the Cliff Racer. The good news is the Cliff Racer doesn't have anything for him to steal. That's why I liked putting it there. And then he gets 2 combat dice. And you can see we rolled a 1 and a 2 damage. This guy has no defense, but it does have dodge, but neither of these missed. So the dodge doesn't do him any good, and he's almost dead. But he did his job. He prevented our adventurers from taking damage. And so now we're on to combat round 2. And I forgot to mention this, but the combat rounds are tracked using this. And so, yes, we are now on to round 2. If we ever get to round 6, people start taking fatigue. And it's not good. You want to finish the combat by round 5. End of round 5. So we get to pick our turn order again. And I'm going to choose the... see, the companion's actually in the way. I'm trying to figure out how to get my archer to one of these. I'm going to do the Nord first. This is going to be the first player. That makes the archer the last. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Okay, so the, and I forgot, this would have happened, right? And then this would have happened for the summoner. So we would have at least lost 4 dice there. Okay, so the Nord, as you know, has a crap ton of dice. 2 of them are going to go. The rest shift down. And by the way, when the combat ends, they stay there. So even if you start the next combat, they're going to... These dice are going to be exhausted for the next combat as well. So that's something to be mindful of. Okay, so why am I going with the Nord first? Well, I want to move 1, 2 to clear a path so the archer can get through. And I'm going to try to lockpick this sucker. He's not the best at it, but we're going to try. And the lockpick is 3. And you can see it's a 2, 5, and 4 is what he needs. So we're going to take these 3 dice. And it's as simple as this. We're going to roll Yahtzee style. So I did not roll a 2, 5, or a 4 in any of this. But what I could do is take 1 light fatigue to turn that into a 2, 1 light fatigue to turn that into a 4, and 1 light fatigue to turn that into a 5. A light fatigue lets you move it up or down by 1. I got 2 more dice rolls, so that's 3 light fatigues, and I automatically succeed, or I can keep going and take my chances. I'm going to take my chances. So again, it's a 2, 5, or 4. I got my 5. So 1's done. And then I'm going to take 1 light fatigue to make that a 2. And so once again, I got to put this in my queue. And then for the 4, I can take 2 light fatigue, but I'm going to go ahead and roll for a 3rd time. And I got a 2, so I have to take 2 more light fatigue, or otherwise the item is gone, and I couldn't pick the lock. So I'm going to take 2 more. So now you know why the lock picking could be problematic if you have the wrong person. This ledger domain, this lets me, it's the wrong character. It's the archer that has the ledger domain. The ledger domain lets me adjust any rolled lockpick die by 1 without having to gain light fatigue. So I did all that because I wanted to get this token because we want the experience point. I don't even care what this item is. We could keep this. I'll look at it real quick. Yeah, no. After a successful lockpick check, they may draw 2 and keep 1. Who cares? I'm just going to keep the item and discard, or I'm going to keep the chip and discard the item because we're going to gain the experience point for it. So you represent that by putting it on the thing. Okay, so the Nord did his job. I can attack. I don't want to kill this guy because he's going to spawn someone else. So do I just do nothing? And my answer is yes. I'm not going to attack. I'm going to let it be. All right, so then next up after the Nord is the Cleric, which is why I wanted him to go next. So the Cleric is going to move up 1, and we're going to engage a speech check. And we got to do our quest here. And, oh, by the way, this spider was defeated, so it goes on this one. And I need to have 5 chips on this in order to win. So, place it on the card instead of the defeated enemy stack. And then during your next town encounter, if you have 5 or more on, I get to complete this quest. So I'm going to do that. All right, so what do I do about this? It is the number of players plus 3, which is 7, right? But if the adjacent adventure is the same race as the sibling, I get to reduce the check by 3. So it's down to a 4. Because this is a Breton and that's a Breton. So that was just luck. So we're down to 4 is what we need. And then I'm allowed to roll a speech check before we determine tenacity stuff. So I rolled a 1, which, we understood that was going to be an issue. And this is completely gone at the start of his turn. I was getting excited and starting the turn. So this speech check die now goes down to here. So I just reduced that 4 to a 3. So now, the knight has this ability. If there's only 1 enemy within 3 of you, that's not true anymore. So he can't use that ability yet. So we won't do that. Okay, getting back to regular, I got to spend 3 more tenacity from somewhere. I have 2 with my cleric. My knight has 3. My archer has 2. So we have it in a lot of spots here. And I'm actually going to spend it with the knight. I'm going to spend all 3. The knight will pay the whole price. So he goes down to 0. And we now have converted this guy. And he's now a buddy-buddy companion for us. So he'll help us attack and do whatever we need to get done. And unfortunately, he's not going to be one of the level 5s for this, but that's okay. So we're only going to get 1 of these. Okay, so now this is the only guy left on the map, so we can murder, death, kill him. So next up is her. So she's going to move 1, 2, and we're going to attack him with her dice. Now, she does get to remove these 2 fatigue before her turn. And then she has these 2 dice. She's going to do a magic attack on him. And both of those are tenacity. So she did Jack Diddley. So now she has a tenacity of 3, and both of these go here. Now, just a reminder, if she would have rolled this, that was going to do 1 damage to him. And it's true damage, which would have ignored his shields, if I remember correctly. Yeah, true damage ignores shields. So all she had to do was roll one of these, and it would have been taking damage. And then this does true damage, but then helps other adventurers as well. So there's, there was some probability that I was going to roll that, but to roll both of them that way, that sort of blew chunks. But anyways, that's her turn. She did no damage. And then last but not least, oh no, I just realized something. I blocked my archer. I can't do that. The whole point of this is freeing up for the archer. I'm going to put those 2 dice back. We never rolled them. And that means I got to take the 2 tenacity away from her as well. This is more important. I got to go 1, 2, 3, and this luck pick is free per the Khajiit ability. And once again, I'm keeping it for the experience point. But we do get to look at the item, and it's another glyph. Not interested. So that goes in the back. And we got our 2 experience points. Now we can murder, death, kill this thing. And it's just unfortunate that I rolled the 2 dice and didn't hit it anyways, but that's not the point. I do still get to shoot, though. So that's what I'm going to do. And at the start of the turn, if I'm in range, I deal 2 damage to a targetable enemy. So I would have done 2 damage to him, which only would have done 1. But I still would have done that. And then I don't have any dice. Well, actually, I do. Because at the start of the turn, she would have refreshed these 2 dice. So we have those 2 there. So I could roll these 2 dice to attack him. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And that's a 2 damage, and that's a 1. So that's 3 damage. Blocked by 1, and then 2 damage is done to him. He's dead. And, of course, this is a level 10, so I don't get to use it there. Did I need to spend the dice? Probably not. And then I'm going to have a issue with, I'm not going to be able to do anything at the beginning of the next battle. But we win. We got it all done. So the good news here is this Prodigal Bandit thing is successful. And this bandit is going to be ours for future battles until I get back to a town and can hand him in. So while in a town, I return the sibling to the family as a free town action. I discard them and complete this quest, and we get a collective total of 2 bonus experience. Bonus experience is not the same as experience. Bonus experience is like you get to take the experience, but you don't. It doesn't make your dial move up, so the baddies don't get harder. Basically, it's like free experience that don't have to be recorded on the baddie meter. All right. So with that said, you don't gain any health. If you lost any, everything stays the way it is. This gets unsummoned, so it loses its health. But it can be summoned again and again as long as you have the tenacity for it. I don't know why these 2 are here. I don't remember. But my archer here. And then she's done. And then the Nord didn't take any damage, which was good. And this guy did take 1 damage. When we do our Adventurer's Rest, it will heal and get 1 damage back. And I'm going to do that right now. Because we're done with the day. We're just going to do our reward step here. So per this, we get 2 experience. And, yeah, that's it. We seize the caravan. All right, so that is done. Now, because this was a controlled chaos spot or whatever it's called, we get 2 tenacity. So don't ever forget that. That's easy to forget. And then this just represented that we got the 2 experience points. So, and we can spend those during this rewards phase, which I believe we can do even when we're not in town. Yeah, gain rewards, untrained, gain advancements, track quest progress. Then end of day phase, we get to activate the province effect and adventurer's rest. Okay, the province effect is this card that we drew. There's no symbol on it. There's supposed to be a symbol. All right, I'll figure that out in a second. There's supposed to be a symbol in these cards that tells us what the weather is going to be. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong card. No, I'm not. All right, I'll look that's another problem for another day, but let's finish our rewards here. So we get 2 experience, we get to heal, and then during the night phase, we're going to be able to restore 1 die. And we can spend that 2 experience as well. So first things first, let's go to our dial. And we gain 2 experience, so we're up to 5 that way. So then over here, for this deal, first of all, our rest is going to let us restore a die. I have 2 experience points, so I can spend those now. And one of those things is I can just gain another magicka. I can save it, right? Because I don't have to spend it right away. I can get another speech die, which is going to just cost me 1 experience, not 2. Or for 2 experience, I can upgrade my Restoring Light and get a level 2 die, which you get to heal somebody in range. Ooh. I don't know what the right call is on this one. I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to gain my extra speech die and then just spend 1 experience point. So I'm going to save 1. That's my plan. All right, and then coming down to here, we got a similar dilemma, right? We have our Daedric summoning, but I'm tempted to get a level 2 die. And the level 2 die, we have a choice. We can take a Power Stone, where I can change the result up to X other skill dice you rolled disengage to a side of your choice. And of course I have to roll at least a 1, right, to be able to change a die, or a 2. So what this is not like or Expert Summoner. The combat stat and movement of companions you control are increased by X. After one of these companions engages, reduce this die by 1. If this die would be reduced to 0, exhaust it. So here's the deal. This is an active slot die, so it doesn't go into your queue. So if I rolled a 3, I would get the combat stat, which is how much dice it attacks with and how much movement it has, would go up by 3. But then as soon as it engages, like doesn't attack, it would reduce to a 2 and then reduce to a 1 and then be done. And it's a 50-50. Like there's a chance I may get nothing. But I actually like that one better, so I'm going to go ahead and do the Expert Summoner. So let's try that. That is a level 3 die. I'm not seeing. I'm having trouble finding it. Oh no, it's a level 2 die. I'm sorry, not a level 3. So here it is, Expert Summoner. And I'm going to put that there. I'm pretty sure maybe I can replace one of these dice with a level 3. I don't think you can. I think you have to just keep going. So this would be a 4, that would be a 5, and that would be a 6, and then I'm full, right? You don't have to always progress it that way. And actually, the dice only go up to level 4. So you don't have to always just gun up for level 4. You can just do all level 1 dice. It's your call. Like, it all depends on what you want to do with the character. But I definitely want to start getting up to higher levels because the Daedric Summoning has some cool summoning spells, but we don't even have those available to us yet. The first summoning is, well, here at level 3, which is the next time, I can summon a Clanfear or an Atronak. It's my choice. Well, it depends on what I roll, right? I get this side or that side. So that's going to be my first time I get to summon something, but I could get 2 of these dice. But the problem is I only have 1 chip. So even if I get 2 of those dice, I can only summon it once. And then the Tempered Soul thing at level 4, I can select any level 1 through 5 enemy from the defeated stack, and basically it's like a necromancy thing. I get deploy it with full hit points, and it's now a companion. So once you defeated somebody, he can become a companion for you for the rest of the battle. I just really like this class. I mean, it seems like it's very fun, but it's a slow build. Anyways, I spent both experience points doing that. And then for the daily rest, I would get a die back, but there's nothing to get. Okay, so that one's done. Now we go to the Archer. Archer, same deal. I can try to get another one of these Ledger Domain things. But honestly, I think I want to upgrade the bow skill because this bow skill is pretty awesome. And I'm totally screwing up. This would be 1 die that comes back for the rest. And then for the level 2, you always have to treat this like those are there, right? Because these are here. So it's this spot that I'm getting, which is a level 2 or 2 experience point spot. And I'm gonna put the camera down so we can get out the skill. And for the bow at level 2, we have Volley. That deals a total of 4 damage distributed as you choose among enemies adjacent to you. Then place yourself in an unoccupied hex 2 to 4 away. This is really good if you have somebody attacking, they get up in your grill. Your range skill, by the way, has to be non-adjacent. So you have to get away. Like if you're cornered and you have nowhere to go and nowhere to move, this is your only chance of doing damage or the combat dice, right? Or we could do Acid Spray. Select up to 3 targetable enemies, roll 2d6 for each. Apply a Bane status to each enemy for whom you roll a 7 or higher. I sort of like that. I mean, I'm rolling 2 of these. I need a 7 or better. I mean, that means I need a 3 or a 4. Well, a 3 and a 4. So this is a 50%, right? To get a 4, 5, or 6. And then that's, what is that, 80%? No, 60%. And anyways, the point being is that would not do the trick. What does a Bane do? A Bane is at the start of their turn, they take 1 true damage. 1 true damage at the start of each of its turns. So this is really helpful against those enemies that can only take 1 damage a turn, because it's going to take 1 damage on its turn. I like the Acid Spray. I'm just starting to think that maybe the Volley's better, because if they are adjacent to me, this is a really nice way to do 4 damage to something. And this one is, to me, it seems to be a high risk. I mean, that time I would have done it. But see, then it just puts a Bane on it, which means it's only going to take 1 damage. It does not do any other damage. And I get to target 3 enemies, so I can Bane all 3 of them. I actually think the Volley's better. So, what color are these dice? They're like purplish. So this is it. We're going to grab a Volley die. And what's the point again? Remember, in order to get a level 3 or 4 die, I have to get the 2 first. So you can't skip levels. So at minimum, we're going to do that. And yes, I could have gotten another Legerdemain die and saved an experience point, but I actually think the bow skill is really good. It's a real high damage skill. These other ones, like the Legerdemain, is meant to be just sort of a supplemental skill. It's not meant to be the primary. Okay, and then I do get to, during the nighttime, you get to pick any of the dice to replenish. It doesn't have to be the first one. So that's that. And then here, same deal. During the nighttime, I get to pick any of the dice to replenish. And then these would just slide down. And yeah, this thing is not staying in. Okay, we gained 2 experience points. Actually, let me pick this up. I remember the other thing I forgot. We get 2 of these because it was a chaos node or whatever you want to call it. So we get 2 tenacity points anyways. But okay, we get 2 experience points. I want to get another skill for the sword and shield. I think that the sword and shield so far has been pretty cool as well. So let's do that, and I'm going to spend all my experience points to do that. And let me get the skill out. So at level 2, we got Heroic Slash. And it doesn't matter. That's the only die I can get. There's 2 of them. Deal 2 damage to your target for each shield discipline die in your active slot. So not as helpful. Exhaust any number of shield discipline dice from your active slots and deal 3 damage to your target for each die exhausted this way. So the reason this is nice is you spend 1 turn attacking these dice. They go into your active slot. Then you can spend another turn attacking with these, and then you can, based on what's in your active slot, do damage. Now, obviously, if they attack back and you lose them from the active slot, this is a worthless die. Because this only works if you have dice in your active slots. Now, you could get 7 total dice that go in your active slots. I mean, not all 7 of them are going to fit, but you know what I mean. It's a crappy skill. That's not very good. I mean, the level 3 stuff, maybe... I mean, this is like a power bash here. After this engage, remove all shield discipline dice from your cooldown track and active slots. Then declare a target and roll the shield discipline dice as a free engage. Applying the results as normal. I mean, that's really cool. This, not so much. After you're engaged by an adjacent enemy, roll 1 enemy combat die for each damage dealt to you. See, that's an active slot type of die. Deal the roll damage back to the enemy, then exhaust the die. And then shield charge. Recover any number of shield discipline dice from your active slots. Deal 1 damage. Recover is interesting. That's like fully recover. Deal 1 damage to your target for each 1 hand and shield die you have trained. I mean, this is the same die. It's just multiple effects. So you can see there's 1... Well, actually, at level 3, you could take one or the other. And then at level 4... there's only 1. So only 1 spot for level 4. You could take both of these level 3s. I have 3 empty spots left if I take this one. So this would be 1. That would be 2. And then I would have 1 more spot left. And honestly, because of the way some of these skills work, I would take another one of the shield disciplines. Because this seems to be a mechanic you need to... The other thing I can do is I can increase my stamina, which gives me more movement points and lets me roll more dice. I'm going to take the die first. So it is a brown die. This one right here. Not a very good one, but it's a stepping stone to get to something nicer. All right, so there you go. We spent our 2 experience points. We resolved our end of day. I'm giving myself 2 tenacity to the archer, and now 2 to the summoner, and then 2 to the cleric. All right, so if we go back to this is really just a cleanup activity. Get this out of the way. Move these off to the side. And then this comes back into view. And we would be starting day 4. I do have to quit now. I'm way past my time. And day 4, we would move 1, 2 to this town. But we're not going to be doing a town action. We're going to be resolving our quest thing. Then, of course, there is a town, so we could spend another day resting in the town afterwards. This is going to be a combat. So we're going to have to deal with that. And it's going to be a clash. So it's going to be very similar to the last combat we just did. These are all clashes, but these are clashes that are specifically in the quest book. And it'll be one of the locations that we need to do before we're done. Here's the tricky part. They want us to do this by day 4. And then we can probably get here by day 6. Even if I take a day of resting or whatever, maybe. But then we got a long way to go to get to the last one. And you got to get to there by day 12. So don't think that this is 4 and that's 8 and then that's 12, because spending 4 days to get all the way up there, unless you've got really good weather, that's not going to happen. Now, speaking of which, we got to figure out the weather for tomorrow. That's something you do at the end of every step. We had the flood thing, which we're done with, so we don't need to worry about that, but I got to get the weather figured out. And that's here in the Gazetteer. So, space. When triggering the activate province effect step, dictated by the overland icon drawn. During the overland phase, consult the current weather condition. So it's the overland icon drawn. So, I am messing up. So we're looking for this symbol, or this symbol. Oh, no icon means that the weather remains as is. So let's test this out. This was the card we drew. So I would say that's no icon. But where would an icon be? I mean, it's not on the front, is it? This is the next one. I don't see any icon on any of these. Right? But maybe the icon, is it down here? I don't see it anywhere. But this is the overland. By the overland icon drawn during the overland phase. This is the overland phase. We drew this exact card right here. I don't see any icon on any of these cards. It's getting a little ridiculous. Let's look at the blue ones. Oh, down here. Those are the icons. I'm pretty sure those are the icons down at the bottom. So if I go back to the red one, oh, they don't have icons at the bottom. That's the difference. That is the difference. The blue ones do. So, do I draw a blue one? Because the overland... When triggering during the overland phase, consult the current weather conditions to affect your basic overland movement. Activate province effects that move the token to indicate the weather is dictated by the overland icon drawn. So if you look at the blue ones, like that right there is flooding. This one is rainy. That one is sunny. So, I mean, do I draw one of these? Because, yeah, I think I should. I'm just going to draw one of these. So that sets it to flooding. So it stays on flooding again. And I'm just going to cycle through them. The red one has none of those symbols. So I don't think the red ones should be used in any capacity there. That's why I was going nuts. I was like, where is that? So, yeah. So we'll just draw a blue card as far as the end of the day. And I think that covers everything. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. And like I said, next turn, we're going to have a combat on our hands. I don't know if I'm ready for it, but we're going to try. I'm feeling pretty good because I do have this bandit helping me and that bandit helping me. And I am going to have this marauder situation in the quest. But I got some companions to at least help me with this particular battle. And I mean, some of our dice are exhausted depending on which character you're talking about. But we finally got some experience points, which we need. And yeah, we can hopefully win this and maybe even move to this town to do a town step before we go here and do another combat. So this would be 4, that'd be 5, that'd be day 6. And then I got 2 days to start moving up and then 4 more days to get to the thing, which I think is very doable, but we got to hustle. There's not a lot of jerking around for sure. And there's, if you look, there's no towns you can stop at along the way. There is this Hutan cell. Well, those are peaceful spots. But the towns are off on the edge, like in the corner, right? The first town you can get to is way up here. So if you want to stock up on items or whatever, which you get items for free. There's no gold in this game. I got to wait until I'm way up here to do that. And so I got a lot of travel to get there. Potential battles, things like that. So anyways, I'm fascinated with this game. There's definitely a lot going on. It is so easy to miss a step. I need a better guide on, okay, this is what I do next. I think some key information is missing from these cards. But that's a me problem more than I do think that the designers could have done a better job of giving us a player aid that actually aids you in the steps and choices that you make. But I can easily, try to create some of those based on my knowledge and lessons learned. So that way I'm not always looking in the book for stuff. And I'm sure that people who've played this game for any period of time, eventually it clicks and you don't need it anymore. But right now it hasn't fully clicked. And you can see I'm hesitating and I'm second guessing and, doing things like that. But pretty cool. The skills are cool. The way the dice work is cool. I'm not sure I'm sold on the exhaust mechanic. I sort of think I like the Too Many Bones system better than this, but Too Many Bones was quirky. So this game is more streamlined and I think more interesting than Too Many Bones. Too Many Bones, I didn't care about the story at all, Whereas this one, I think the story is pretty cool. I love the whole idea of the gazetteers. Anyways, that's my review so far. It's am I saying that this is the best game ever? No, but I'm very happy with this game so far. And like compared to Iridia, which was a solid game, I sold Iridia. Like I was in the middle of a playthrough and I sold it. And I sold it because it's a hot game and now's the time to sell it versus waiting a couple months. And I got a really good price for it. But the key thing though in all this is that this is one where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to keep this one. And in fact, I'm even wondering, like, should I have this and Too Many Bones? It seems like it's like one or the other. They're both very similar. But anyways, long story short, it's been fun so far. The managing of the cards and managing 4 characters, it's a bit much. I can solo this. The game says I could. I could just create one character. But right now, my curiosity is I want to try all the different skills, right? I want to try all the different things. And I can't do that if I'm just doing one character. I'd spend the entire time wishing, oh, I wonder what it'd be like to have these other characters. So I like having them all. I wish I had like a better table space solution for managing them. But I know I'm rambling a bit, but it's fun. I am actually going to go to work tomorrow and look forward to playing this again. That is the feeling I did not have with Iridia. I enjoyed Iridia once I started playing it, but it was like, I actually am going to be looking at FAQs. I'm going to go into BGG and ask my questions, which, by the way, the community has been excellent. Usually BGG is the most toxic place. I hate people there. I avoid BGG like the plague. But for this particular game, I've had some really pleasant conversations. And now I'm not trying to be dicey or anything with, like this game sucks, because that's usually what brings out the toxicity. But anyways, they've been fantastic with answering my questions. So, and I've had a few. So, anyways, the rulebook for Iridia was perfect. I actually think that it'd be a long time before I see a rulebook as good as that again. The rulebook for this, not as good. I'm not saying that the information's not in there, but it's organized horribly in terms of helping me as a reference. But I do think I enjoy this experience more. Is it going to get old and tired? I don't know. I don't have that answer for you yet. But so far, the experience I'm enjoying more. And I think it's because I feel like I'm making more meaningful choices. And the combat, even when I'm not in combat, I'm deciding which equipment I want to get. It feels very rewarding. So anyways, thanks for watching. And as always, stay awesome.